right. Amazing, amazing. Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to see you all. Okay, if you can hear me, let's just do a quick sound check here. You can hear me, type a one in the chat. If you can type in the chat, then excellent. Here we go. Okay, okay. All right, great, great, great. Now, while you're typing in the chat, tell us where you're joining us from, because this is about to be a really fun evening. If this is your first time attending a Savvy Doc, an acquisition CEO, whether it's joint event or singular event, type a two in the chat. Let me know who my newbies are. Welcome, welcome. Let me know who my newbies are. Andrew, welcome. NECA, welcome. Oh, wow. All right. Okay. Hey, Dr. Nandamisa, so glad to see you here. Okay. Now, if you have a friend, you have a colleague, you have a business partner. Hey there, Gifte from New York. You have a business partner, someone in your life that you know will benefit from being in the room here. This is the time to send them that text that says, hey, this is about to get started. I really want to, I think you're going to love this, okay? Because what I'm about to share with you this evening, what we're about to share with you this evening is literally the strategy and that people have been using recently. Well, not just recently, really from a long time ago, but I just realized it was accessible to me. Okay, so quick story. A few years ago, I went for an event that Mike hosted. And while I was there, I remember I had done, day one, day two, and my mind was blown. It was amazing. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can actually do this. And then I was sitting, it was day three. I was sitting in at breakfast on day three next to a young lady. Her name was Chelsea, and I could probably send you her video later, but her name was Chelsea, and she told me that she had just bought a business. Actually, no. I had seen her on stage saying she had just bought a business, and now she was sitting down next to me, just by happenstance, right? Getting breakfast. And so I began asking her about her business. And I learned that in her first month owning the business, she made $30,000 in profit. Mind you, this is a business she bought with barely any money out of pocket. And the former owner of the business stayed to run the business. Okay. Now, if I weren't sitting down right next to her, I'd be like, holy smokes, what did you just say? So when it came time to start to talk to people about buying businesses, I was like, who else should I tap, right, than the person that helped Chelsea buy her first business? So I would like to invite to the stage, okay, Michael Byars, the Michael Byars. Good evening, Mike. I'm so glad that you're here today. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks so much for joining us this evening. We have a few people here who are new. Some people have never heard about what we're doing before, or you. I've already told them about how you helped Chelsea with that very first deal that she did, the coffee shop. Amazing story. But would you mind just like sharing with the people, who you are, what you do? But even before we do that, actually, let me prime them first, okay? If you didn't grab a pen and paper before you joined this call, this is your reminder that we don't come onto Savvy Doc events without pen and paper. Please go do yourself a favor and grab your trusty pen and a sheet of paper, preferably a notebook, because gems will be dropped. I can tell you, we are both busy people. We don't do fluff, okay?
No,
You're going to learn in a moment that Mike runs 20 companies. He doesn't do fluff, okay? So if you are here tonight, do yourself a favor, grab a pen and paper, because gems will be dropped. If you have said pen and paper, please type a 3 in the chat. Let me know those who I'm talking to here, those who are actually ready to get done. And then I'll have Mike introduce himself. Who has their pen and paper? Okay, Dr. I can trust my Dr. Augusta. There you go. All right. Okay. All right, Mike, let's take it away. Tell the people who you are, what you do, and what your journey has been thus far. And then we'll get into kind of the questions about buying a business.
All right. Yeah. Once again, thanks for having me on, and I appreciate everyone showing up to join. My name is Michael Byars. Like Chigoze said, I grew up in a small little town here in South Carolina, about 12,000 people. I grew up a super poor. You know, Chia Jose knows my story, but I mean, I grew up in a little single wide mobile home with no heater air till I was 15 or 16. You know, so we had what we needed, but we definitely did not have what we wanted, right? So I did pretty well there. I went on to go to college at Clemson University, and while I was there, I started a small tech company at the time. I still have it today, and from my one endpoint that I had when I was there, you know, when I first started, I've grown that. We service over 10,000 different customers in the United States today. But as I was generating cash flow there, I got to think, you know, what else could I do? Who else could I serve? So I started buying companies. You know, the startup world, it was just so slow and boring, and you know, there's a lot of things go into those startups. I'd rather just go buy something that's already existing, already cash flowing. So I started out buying. I bought a restaurant, operated it for a little over 9 years. But I bought it. It was doing about $250,000 a year gross, about $50,000 a year net. Within 3 years, I was doing over $3 million a year gross and over $1 million net. I took that money. I sold that company, the little restaurant, went and bought another restaurant. It was a failing restaurant, and I thought that it would be a great idea to do a turnaround because, you know, what I had done, it worked. It was horrible. It was 14 to 16-hour days, you know, but when I bought it, we were losing about 4,000 a week. When I sold it, we had netted over $1 million that first year. But it was, I mean, it was a constant grind. I wouldn't do that again either. But I learned through each of these processes, right? So I took some of that money that I made on the exit of those two companies, started buying real estate. Now I own about 185 single family homes and 10 commercial buildings, all paid free and clear, debt free. But as I was buying the real estate, I started seeing, you know, other opportunities. I got a lot of real estate. I was using property management companies. So I went and bought a property management company. I was using construction companies, plumbing companies, electrical companies, HVAC companies. I was doing a lot of development. I was using forestry mulching companies. I started buying up everything and vertically integrating.
Mm.
I was buying those companies just to be able to control the whole process.
Mhm.
But, you know, after I got everything super dialed in that real estate space and real estate vertical, started branching out, buying other stuff. I mean, I've got all kind of stuff. That deal that Chigoze was talking about, I'm partners in the coffee shops with Chelsea. I've got, you know, I bought a mailbox company. I bought a solutions company, a chemical company. I mean, it just goes on, right? But currently, you know, I've bought over 60 companies. I've sold over 30. And currently I've got around 20 companies. I think I got 20 or 21 now under management. We'll do somewhere between 100 and 145 million a year, depending on what I've got, how the companies are doing. But, you know, I just enjoy being able to come, you know, sit with groups like this. Number one, to be able to give back. But number two, to be around other like-minded entrepreneurs, people that are, you know, they're actually trying out there working today and want to do better for themselves and their families.
Yeah. No, thanks so much for sharing that. Because like, you know, when people hear about, at least, okay, if I were to talk about myself, right? When I heard people talking about, oh, I bought a company, like as of, I don't know, 2020, 2022, early 2022, it was like they buy companies, whoever they are, right? It always seemed like it
Right,
always
right.
seemed like, you know, Wall Street, you know, mergers, you know, M&A, mergers and acquisitions. It sounds like, you know, CNBC type speak, right? But then when you talk about it, you know, how you started and how you kind of like began with the first one and then grew and then all of that. I remember that it was after I left your event that I kind of felt, okay, this is actually pretty doable. Like this is actually like a mathematical situation happening here. Now, you also invest in real estate, right?
Yeah, a ton. I'll do
Um, yeah,
150 to 175 fix and flips a year now.
nice. Now, because I know that a lot of people in our community come to our community because of the real estate, right? Because the last 4 or 5 years we've been talking about, buying real estate, investing in real estate, short-term rentals most recently, and as a few of them know, anybody here have a short-term rental? As a good number of them know, like when we did the short-term rental pivot, it was a hard pivot because I was tired of $200 a month of cash flow. And when I
Right.
saw STRs, I was like, um, guys, you don't need to buy, a long-term rental. And this is primarily for doctors and professionals, anything like that, because I felt that, you know what? Most of them were buying the properties for cash flow because they wanted meaningful income outside of their clinical work. And so when we found short-term rentals, I was like a town crier. And then when I saw the acquisition numbers, I was like, wait, what are we doing again?
Way bigger, way bigger.
So would you mind doing that, like, comparison that you've shown in the past about just like how the real estate numbers compare with the short-term rentals and sorry, with the businesses. And guys, this is really what unlocked it for me because as you will see, he's gonna show us in a second. Do you have
Yep,
that
I'm
screen?
pulling it
Yeah.
up. Give me
You know what? Let me
1
see.
second.
Uh, let's see here.
All right. 1 second. Hang on. What's the bathroom? Hang on. I will. Let me share my screen there, Chickasee.
Yeah.
Please. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna play this little video for you guys. It's a good breakdown. Realize I did this video about 2 years ago when the interest rates were lower than they are today. But I can, if you want a decent comparison now, I mean, I can still make another video with the margins now with the interest rates. The difference in the profit is even larger now with the
Mm-hmm.
with the higher interest rates. So let me show you guys this video, and then we'll talk more about it afterwards. With the mastermind, we have a lot of real estate investors coming in. So, a lot of times we compare what we do with real estate because we're from the real estate space with about 175 single family homes. Here, as you can see, for 5 single family homes, if we bought them at $100,000 a piece, you got $500,000 for your initial purchase price. 20% down leaves you at the $100,000 down payment mark. 3.5% interest for 30 years. Principal and interest would give you $1,750 a month. Taxes $1,000 a month, insurance $875 a month, and your rent at the 1% rule is going to be $5,000 per month. When you subtract out all the expenses, that leaves you a net cash flow of $1,375 per month. Times 12 months leaves you with about $16,500 per year of net cash flow. Whereas a business acquisition, you have $1 million purchase price, 10% down is the same $100,000 as you have over here with your single family homes. 30% cash flow business, which is what we like, leaves you with $900,000 financed at 5% for 10 years, which leaves you with a $10,200 per month payment. That's $122,400 annual debt service. $300,000 annual net profit. $300,000 profit minus $122,400 debt service leaves you with $177,600 net profit per year versus the $16,500 net profit that you would get off the same investment into the single family home. As you can see, the difference in the net cash flow from the business versus the real estate is huge. You have the same initial investment for real estate versus a business acquisition, but you've got almost 10 times the net profit. So as you guys can see, the difference in the cash flow from the business versus the real estate, I mean, it's astounding.
Yeah.
For me, I'm buying the businesses, building the cash flow, taking that cash flow and going, I'm making the money, generating the revenue in the businesses. I'm preserving that same cash in the real estate. All
Mm,
the real estate is just a holding for me. It's much better than putting it in the bank.
yeah. And it was when I heard that from you actually about buying it, generating your cash flow in the business, that I was like, that's probably a better way. Because what I was running into was that, we buy the properties, we rehab them. And while you're rehabbing, it sucks a lot of cash from you. And then, yes, like we always hit the BRRRR strategy and we'll like refinance. But then that process still, even then, like it still sucked cash from you. And then it began to like spit out the cash just a little bit at a time. But then when I saw, oh, you need the income generator. Yes, the income generator can be your income, but what if you had the income generator as an actual income generating machine in a business, and then you had more, you can then acquire as much real estate as you really want. And those are just like the mind sparks
Right.
that went off. But so you said right now you operate, or not operate. Right now you own Clear Distinction. You own over 20, I think it's like 22 or something that you said.
20 or 21. I can't, I, I'd have to go back and look. My
Who's
problem is
counting?
I bought 7 and sold 5 last year.
Okay,
So, at the end of the day, and I'm always juggling. I got 3 deals that I hope I get closed this year. 3, they'll be bigger size deals. So
nice,
good deal.
nice.
Yep.
Now, I mean, is anybody here wondering how many hours do you have in a day, Mike? Because when most of us think about buying one business, we're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm already busy. How do I fit this into my regular life as it is? Anybody here thinking I'm busy? Type a 4 in the chat. Like if you're thinking, um, give me an extra hour, please type a 4 in the chat. Okay. So now how many hours do you have in a day, and how are you able to manage, that many businesses and still be able to sleep, eat, walk around and heck be on a call like this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, every business that I have has a quarterback,
Mm,
and you know, they're taking care of the day-to-day stuff. They're putting out fires. Really, the only stuff that I have to worry about is if I have to put out fires for them.
mm,
I've got, really 20 people that kind of report back to me. I help them if they can't figure it out. But, I'm looking for that quarterback in everything that I buy, whether it be the old owner's going to stay on. He just doesn't like the business part of it, but he's good at the thing, whatever that might be.
mm-hmm,
Or there's a number 2 person that I can promote to a number 1 person and make them as a quarterback. You know,
mm,
I'm not going to buy something that doesn't have that person in place, or that I don't have someone in my network I can bring in to put in that position. It's
mm,
just like you were talking about. I'm fresh out of hours. I don't have any more hours in the day, you know, but with having good quarterbacks, having good employees, it does free up a lot of time. I was able to take a trip with my family last year. I mean, we were gone for 6 weeks. I wasn't at the office. We got a little Sprinter van and went out west to see all the stuff out there. I was
nice.
gone 6 weeks. We still did very well,
The
and
world did not end.
the world did not end. No wheels fell off the bus.
Nice.
So at the end of the day, it's all about the quarterbacks,
Yeah.
having good people in the correct positions and letting them do what they're good at, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I own a plumbing company. I can't
Mm-hmm.
change your sink or your toilet. I mean, the most I know about, I've got a heat and air company. The most I know about heating and air is how to turn the thermostat up and down and change the filter. Other than that, that's above my pay grade. But I got some good quarterbacks that know everything about
You know, as you began talking about the plumbing and the toilet, I was like, should I tell them about our bathroom story? Nah, we'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Um, so you definitely have figured out. I mean, you've 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 defined your first, I'll say, your really strong criterion for finding a business, which is making sure that the business has someone in it that could either run it from within or that you hire to run it. But at the point where you're owning the business, there's somebody there running it. Like, at what point do you find this person? Is it before you buy the business, or is it, you know, maybe like when you close or something like that?
Oh no, I'm going to have infrastructure already set up. If if there's not a number two guy, I can move to a number one, or the old owner stays on and continues to operate the business, or I have someone that's a professional in my network that I can put in that spot. I'm just not going to touch the business. I'm going to scrap it and keep going.
Yeah.
Just not
Yeah.
worth it to me. I'm looking at, I'll get 30 to 50 DMs a week of people that, they have businesses they want to sell. They're looking for, investments, partners, all that type stuff. I mean, I'm looking at, not counting that, I look at a ton of on market and a ton of off market stuff, depending on where it's at and what I've just bought in that area. But, I'm looking somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 deals a year. And,
Mm,
just like I told you, I bought 7 last year out of 3,000. You gotta put in the work. You gotta look at a lot of stuff.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, your job's not to make one of these deals work. Your job's to disqualify every one of them as fast as you can. The ones you can't disqualify are the ones you buy.
Mm.
There's no reason to go around trying to stick a square peg in a round hole. Just don't work.
So when you talk about disqualifying deals, let's kind of talk a little bit about what criteria you are filtering the deals that you look through. Just kind of talk us through what your process is for filtering. You're seeing 2,000 and somehow it's, or 3,000 and somehow it's whittling down to 2, 3, or even 7. That's still a really tiny percentage. So how are you filtering through these deals? Do you have any criteria that you use? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm buying stuff in that $1 to $7 million range. I'm buying there because $1 million is too much for chucking a truck, the one man crew, right? He
Mm-hmm.
can't afford the companies I'm looking at. But down to that $7 million range, anything below that is really too cheap for private equity, investment banks, any of those guys. So there's that weird little spot in there from that 1 to 7 million to where you can go shopping and you don't have a whole lot of competition, right?
Mm.
For me, just like you guys in the real estate space, you're looking for the stuff where it's not been shopped over. But I'm looking for 10 employees. I want something that's steady. If when I buy it, one or two of those guys are going to quit, if that's the case, I want to still be okay. And just think about it. If you got a company with 4 people and 2 of them quit, you might as well shut the door because you can't make it. If you got a company with 20 people and 1 or 2 quit, well, most of the time you can hire for that place. Somebody else can kind of pick up the role and keep rolling. I'm really looking for something that's been in business for 10 years or more. I'm looking for something steady, something established, their names known in the community. But really, I'm looking for stability. If I know, so statistically, 95% of startups fail in the first 5 years. Less than 10% of acquisitions fail in the first 5 years. I know that if they've made it 10 years, they've got past that first 5 year startup period. They've probably got a lot of their stuff dialed in, and it's going to be pretty safe from my standpoint.
Hmm.
So I'm also looking for something with 25 to 30% plus profit margin. I'm not going to ever, I don't want to say ever, but I'm not going to buy stuff with less than a 25% margin. You know, by the time you pay debt service, if you're making less than 25% by the time you pay debt service, you don't have anything left over, right? So,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
if you'll stick
No.
to those parameters have been developed. I've developed those by making mistakes, by buying stuff I shouldn't have bought, you know. But I can tell you, as I've grown and as I've bought other stuff, learned from my mistakes, I haven't bought anything that's losing in the last 11 years. So, they seem to be working so far, right?
Yeah.
But I have
Yeah.
bought some turds, that just didn't work out, but I didn't follow the parameters.
Okay, okay. Now, so you mentioned five different things that you look for. And guys, if you missed those five things, I'll go over them real quick. But if you stay till the end of this, I'm having my assistant Carla actually create a little link that you can put your email in, and we'll give you the list of those five things. So just kind of run through them real quick because we will be getting into that shortly. He mentioned how much revenue they make. So he does 1 to 7 million. How many employees? So 10 employees or more. And you mentioned the
10
profit
years in
margin.
business. Yep. The margin.
Yeah, profit margin above 25 to 30, around 25 to 30%, 10 years plus in business. And then the one we mentioned at first, of course, which was the having a quarterback in place. Yeah. Now, one thing I didn't hear you say was a particular industry, because a lot of people that are in our world, tend to ask, okay, well, what kind of business can I buy? Like, you know, do I only have to buy medical businesses because I'm a doctor, or like what industries do you look at or do you avoid? Maybe let's do avoid because it sounds like you're pretty broad. You've mentioned HVAC, plumbing, you've mentioned a lot of things, but are there any that you avoid per se?
Yeah, my portfolio is super diverse. I do all kind of weird stuff. I like boring, profitable stuff. I don't, I like the old ball bearings company in Cleveland, Ohio. They make boring stuff. It's not sexy, it's not cool, but it just generates cash flow. And that's what
Mm,
I'm looking for. But the stuff that I don't want to fool with, I don't want to ever have a restaurant again, ever, ever, ever in my life. Those are brutal. But, I'm not looking for trend type businesses. Like everybody here knows somebody that's still got a garage full of fidget spinners. They made good money for 6 months. Now they got boxes and boxes of them over there in their garage if they hadn't already sent them to the dump, right? I don't like trend type stuff. I don't like seasonal stuff. It's too hit and miss.
mm,
Um, I don't like e-commerce stuff.
hmm
I did very well on the e-commerce companies that I bought. I bought some, rolled them up, and then was able to resell them. But man, that was probably the worst time of my life. I was dealing with a lot of VAs, and I felt like I was just a babysitter for adults. You
mm.
know, there's a lot of stuff to do in those e-com stores, so I don't like those either. But um, I don't like roofing. That's
Okay.
that's they got a very small margin. I like every other service-based business, but I don't like roof. Normally, roofing, their margin somewhere between 10 and 15%.
Yeah.
By the time you pay debt service, you got nothing left over, unless you're a current roofer and you're looking to add to your portfolio with bolt-ons.
Mm. It's funny that you mentioned it's funny you mentioned those because I just had I had a broker in my DMs today and he's brought me different things. Some of them have just not been. And then he was like, "Would you want to do e-com?" And normally my answer is
Nope.
nah, not really. But then he goes, "Yeah, I have this." And I was like, you know what? Actually, I don't want to be tied to Amazon and I don't want to be tied to the algorithm because you know how the algorithm changes.
Oh, I know. I was selling the companies I had. We were selling on Walmart, Wayfair, Target, Amazon, and one other. We were selling on 5 platforms. I can't remember what the other was. Anyway, we were selling
Overstock?
anywhere between
Yeah.
38 million and 42 million a month. So, I mean, we were getting on with the getting on. But
hmm
the problem is you're tied to all those folks. I had Amazon suspend my account one time because they said we listed something that we didn't have authorization. You send them in all these letters from the manufacturer that you got authorization to sell it, blah 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 blah. They were holding 700 something thousand dollars of mine
Oh
for
wow.
over 3 months, and there's nothing I can do about it. So
Their platform, right?
that's when I knew that it was time for me to be done.
Mm.
You know.
Now, one question that often comes in now is how about franchises? Are they, and guys, by the way, start to type your questions in the chat because at some point we will get to Q&A. So please type your questions in the chat. We won't take them right now. We'll take them at the end, but just as they come, start to put them in the chat so that way I know
Don't
how to
forget them.
prime the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So franchises, 98% of them I do not like. Most of the time franchises have got super low margins,
Mm.
and unless they've got, a gazillion locations, it's not really a proven model. Everybody wants to start a business, have 2 locations, it works. All right, I can be a franchisor now.
Hmm.
That's at the end of the day, it's just not where I want to be. The margins are slim. You've got to contribute to a marketing fund that they spend all over the country, not just in your region. I'd much rather spend my own money on marketing in my own region.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I've had some students buy franchises in the past, despite, my advice, and then come back and say, oh, well, I want to advertise. I've got a lady right now, you know her too, Chigoze,
Oh yeah.
extremely nice lady. She
Yeah.
bought a franchise and they told her she could not run ads with her own money on her own dime in her market. They would take her franchise from her. She wanted to just create a new website, run ads to that website. Nope, we'll take your franchise from you.
Hmm.
So, they can be brutal. I don't like being handcuffed to something or someone else being able to handcuff me. I want to, if I want to spend, like when I was doing the Amazon stuff, I mean, I was spending probably $250,000 a month just running ads.
Wow.
I don't want somebody to tell me, you gotta send us $800 a month, and we're gonna run ads, a few of them in your market, but we're gonna take that $800 a month and run it throughout the U.S. No thanks.
No, thank you.
You know.
Uh, all right, guys. So now, this is start to post your questions in the chat. But before we even look at questions, let's actually show them the numbers. Anybody want to see numbers here? Is there anyone here who just like wants to see the numbers that I saw? Because I've shown you, like we've shown you, like the comparison that we do that he does between real estate and what's it called, and businesses. But does anybody want to see like live deals? Type a live in the chat. Let me know those who are here. Okay, I see M. Bryant says thumbs up. I take that as a yes. I do want to see live deal. Type live. Okay, Dina's here or Dinah's here. All right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, maybe we should take them on a drive. So as I've done before, I like doing this actually because it puts us on the spot, right? Who
That's it.
here has a city they would like us to check out? Type your city. Type a city that interests you. And you're like, you know what? Give me this city. Let's check that out and see what we can find. Oh, NECA got it. She said Houston, Texas. All right, let's go to Houston
So
or
we
Texas
can
at
only
least.
sort
Yeah,
by the
by
state, not
state.
the
Yeah.
city. So, but yeah. So let me share my screen.
Did you just type middle of nowhere, Indy? All right, we'll make sure we find middle of nowhere, Indianapolis.
It's over there.
All right.
All right, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
All right. Um, the name of this software that I'm using is Big Deal Machine, and
Mhm.
it's something that we developed for an in-house tool, really. And we used it. I've been using it for 2 years, 2.5, 3 years. We developed it that long ago. But as we developed it, we decided we would start, licensing it out to the public. So if you want to sign up for it, if you go sign up for it today, you get a 3-day free trial. I'll give you guys a 30-day free trial. So you can go in there, check it out, see what it's like. But anyway, this software, so here's a random fact. There's 847 business for sale websites for the US. And I was spending a ton of time going and looking at, I had 10 or 15, 20 of them that I was going looking at every day. I have to bounce back and forth between site. I would lose where I'd save stuff or close the tab. You guys know how
Mm-hmm.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I built this software so I could save the stuff that I found that I like, understand, what it is. But more for me, I can set my own parameters up top. What are they asking for it? How much cash flow is it spitting off? That's all I really care about, you know. So I built this out. This site aggregates all of those 847 business for sale websites in the US and dumps all that information here. So here's a random fact for you guys. Let me set this up back to any. In the US today, there is 29,043 businesses for sale.
Hmm.
You can't tell me out of 29,043, you can't find something, right? So let's go through and look at a few of them. She goes, "Hey, you know
Yeah.
me. I can't
And you
bounce
know what,
back and
actually,
forth to that to the thing. Give
before
me a state."
before we even put that in, I want to kind of set our target here. I just realized I didn't actually set our target to start. Guys,
I'm gonna set it
how,
here a
how
minute.
much how much cash flow will you need to say, okay, that deal is a sweet deal, I'm absolutely taking it? Type it in the chat. So for some of you, type two things in the chat. The first thing I want you to type in the chat is, what was it that made you come on this call? Like, how much cash flow are you looking for? Like, what's motivating you to even be on the business acquisition call? And then type in a number that'll be like, oh my goodness, if I got a business that made that amount, it will make me super happy. Like, I will be glad. I may quit my job. I may go on vacation. I want to hear your motivations with some numbers. Type it in the chat, and then we'll tailor our search. Okay, Dr. Augusta says 300K. So 300K cash flow. For those of you who are mathing with me here, 300K cash flow comes to about 25K a month in monthly cash flow. 500K. NECA says. Daniela says 240. Okay, Andrew says just interested in learning. 100K cash flow. Dinah says 15K a month. Okay, Dinah, what will 15K a month do for you? Will it help you, quit work? Will it help you, retire or retire a spouse? Like, type in the number, but I also want to know what the money will do for you, because that's really where it is. Okay. And Brian says replacing prior income. Okay, very good. Very good. Let's see a few more. Let's see a few more, so that we know what we're targeting here. Okay. Daniela said cut off work, like just chop it off completely. Just chop it off completely. Okay. He said, no, I can't quit. Okay, that makes sense, but I can start and then buy more. I love it, Daniela. All right. So now we know what we're working towards. Yeah, you can show them, Mike. Let's see. Let's see what we
All right,
find
so
with.
let's talk
Yeah.
about this. The parameters I'm going to put in.
Yeah.
Maybe I just put this down to 500,000 asking price. Cash
Mm-hmm.
flow $400,000 a year. This is going to be yearly, and I'm going to put that number. That's going to get you about $200,000 net
Yeah.
after debt service if you're taking debt on it. If you're not
Mm-hmm.
taking debt on it, you'll get the whole 400. But um,
So we said Houston, Texas. Oh, Texas.
we'll start at Texas.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll do a few others.
All right, with the parameters of $500,000 asking price, $400,000 cash flow. I mean, here goes one lumber and hardware center. They want 3.2 million for it. It's cash flowing 1.36 million, 1.37 million. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
After debt service, you're going to net about probably
About
700,
500, 700,000. Yep.
750,000 a year. Um, Here goes a tow yard. They're asking 1.7 for it. Their cash flow is just about 1.7.
Mm-hmm.
One times earnings. Plus, you're going to be getting wreckers and stuff. All that's heavy equipment. All of it
Mm-hmm.
you can depreciate year one for taxes.
Tax savings. Yeah.
Yep. Medical building, that's more of a real estate play.
Mm.
With that. Here go all you guys that are doctors, guys and girls that are doctors. Extremely active, profitable OBGYN clinic in West Houston. They want 1.2 for it. Your cash flow is 663. After debt service, you're gonna net about 400 grand on this deal.
Hmm.
So if any of y'all are in Houston, might be something good for you. That's not a good deal. Let's see.
Look at the furniture store. Oh no, employees are 6. Never mind.
Yeah. This isn't a bad
Yeah.
deal. B2B auto parts distribution. You know, as the every one of you guys can tell, the economy is slowing down.
Mm.
As the economy slows down, people start fixing their cars instead of buying new ones, right? I like this business going into a recession. I think they want a little much for it, but I'm sure they've got a ton of inventory as well.
Mm.
So 10 employees, it's in that Dallas area. Might be something if you guys like stuff like that. No franchise and no child care. I don't know
Oh
if any of you
yeah.
guys have ever looked into child care, but
Oh.
it's not fun. Here goes the plumbing business. They want too much for it. They don't have enough employees though. Pediatric clinic. Would you
Hmm.
guys give 750 to be able to get 470 back the first year? I know I would.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer deal.
That's in
Uh,
Harris County. All right. Popular pediatric clinic.
let's see. Here goes the electric company. They
Mm-hmm.
want 1.2 for its cash flow in 511. This is a good deal here. They're short on employees. If you're already in this business, you might buy it as a bolt-on. It's a little small of a deal. They want 600 for it, but it's cash flowing 400.
Hmm.
So, about a 1.5 times earnings. It's not a bad deal if you've got more employees and you're already in that business.
Hmm.
Uh, Vape and smoke shop. I just don't like the business. You know,
The glass company, the second one on your screen.
yep,
Nice.
$7 million in backlog. They want 3.5 million for it. It's netting $1 million a year.
Yeah. So after that service with that, they'll probably be around the 500 mark. For those who were talking about, I think Onyeka here said 50K a month. That's about 600 net. That's probably one that someone like that would be looking at.
Yep.
Okay,
Uh,
let's try another city. Another state, sorry.
do it.
So I'm gonna go to that list again. So that was NECA. Now let's do Dinah. Pennsylvania.
So in Pennsylvania, with these parameters, there's 49 entries in the state. So let's see what we got. Here go. If you guys are looking for tax breaks, here is construction company. They got heavy equipment. I would bet they've got a couple $1 million worth of heavy equipment. You can write off year one for depreciation. Then you're looking at probably a 2 to 3x multiple. No go on the tequila brand, that is for sure. Ophthalmology practice, I think they're asking a little much for it, but there goes one. Here goes a dry cleaner. Let's talk about boring and mundane. Here you go. They want 950 for it. It cash flows 437 a year. By the time you pay debt service, you're going to net 250 a year out of that. So
You
if
know
you
what
were,
blew my mind about all of this as you're even showing this? It was the fact that like somebody that owns a dry cleaning company, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm a doctor. Oh, I'm a professional. Oh, you know what? I'm a whatever. And then you look at their cash flow and you're like, holy smokes, this person is netting 2 times my salary. And I don't know, like, I don't know their back training. I don't know any of that. But like this, if there's anything that sort of like, just like, and I say this with all honor and respect, humbles the doctors in my world. It's when they realize what like plumbing companies are making and landscaping companies, and people are always like posting like, "Oh, do you know how much or whatever is making?" Yeah, you didn't have to go to like all the 50, whatever. But um, I just find it very very interesting, how much these so-called boring businesses make on the back end that you may never be able to tell from just being in the at the front door.
Yep. I mean, here goes another good one. They want 1.1 million for it. It's cash flowing 400,000.
Mm,
I mean, it's your debt service on that's going to be,
about 180.
I think it's going to be closer to 220. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're still going to net 180,000 after you get done. Um, I think this is too high unless the real estate's included for the.
Yeah, usually those assisted livings are pretty yeah, they have a lot of real estate.
Yep.
You want to see
So,
the one in Indianapolis, middle and
yeah.
Augusta's defined Indianapolis. Let's look for middle and nowhere Indianapolis.
All right. Indiana. Let's see what we
Indiana.
got. Indiana, there's 20 entries in this price range. Um, this is good. Utility right away vegetation maintenance company. Gonna have heavy
Mm.
equipment. That's the guys going mowing the stuff down along the power lines or the water
Mm.
lines. I mean, they want $2 million for it. It's gonna cost you 360 a year for debt service. You're gonna net 350, 360. You're going to get probably $1 million worth of depreciation year one.
Mm.
This is a good deal. I'm in this business.
Oh wow.
Yep. That's a real good deal. Wish that was closer. I do. Um, go back to one. Da, 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 da. Commercial design and millwork company.
Mm.
Boring, profitable, folks. I mean, you know,
That's nice.
they're making wood doors or something like that. That's all
Hmm.
it is. They want 364. It's cash flowing $1 million a year. You're looking at it's probably going to cost you 550 in debt service. You're going to net 550. You got 35 employees. That makes it super stable. If one or two people quit, who cares? You can rehire them. You got time.
Augusta said, "Dang, I found my business." There you go. That's why you
Hey,
come for these.
Um, let's see. There goes a good one. Electrical contractor, strong client base and growth potential. They want 630 for it. It's cash flowing 404. That's pretty solid.
Nice.
Um, here goes the medical aesthetic and wellness
Mhm.
clinic. You know, they want 750 for it. It's cash flowing 450. By the time you pay debt service on it, you're gonna net 300 grand out of that. A little light on employees.
But it's aesthetics.
Right.
Hmm.
Um,
Augusta, sounds like your Indiana may not be too bad. I'm seeing quite a
right.
few interesting things here.
So
Yeah.
what
So she
other
said, okay, let's do one more. And I may be out of order here, but you know what? Let me see if I can be in order. Because I don't think we've done a Missouri since we started. Okay, you know what? Let me see if there's something before. All right, we'll do Missouri and Virginia Beach just because I mentioned it out loud. But we'll just do
all right.
those two and then we carry on.
33 in Missouri. Um, let's see. That's a pretty good price on that gun range. If you like guns. I do like guns. So that's a good deal because I look at a lot of those. Um, Trucking business. That ain't never going out of business. 1.2 million, 557 cash flow. You're gonna net 300 after you get done.
Oh, look at the HVAC.
HVAC company,
Yeah.
$2 million is cash flow and 672. You're probably looking at, 300 or a little better
Yeah.
after debt service. I like this machining and fabricating manufacturer for OEM customers. They want 4.1, it's cash flowing 1.2.
Hmm.
I like it. It's going to be boring and it's going to be profitable.
Nice. Let's see Virginia.
You got it.
And guys, as you can see, you all provided the states, right? I like to do it that way so that no one thinks that like
Yeah,
no one
Virginia's
thinks that
got
anything is
33
fake. Like
entries.
these are live.
Yeah. Andrew asked what app. This is bigdealmachine.com. Here, I'll put it in the chat. Here goes a wellness and health spa for sale in Virginia, 4 million. It's cash flowing right at $1 million. I think that's a little high, but here goes a tractor trailer truck repair shop for sale in Central Virginia. Depending on what other services they offer, if they're like a gas station or a fuel station, along with repair, it might be worth it. They want $5.5 million for it. It's cash flowing $1 million. That's probably worth 3.5 to 4, unless they're selling fuel or
Yeah.
whatever. You just have to figure that out. Here goes a good one. Industrial commercial millwright rigging, steel fabricator and erector. They're going out there putting up red iron buildings. 1.8 million, $600,000 cash flow. You're still going to net over 200 grand a year after debt service here. 13 employees. Ain't got as many good deals in Virginia as we've seen in some of these other states.
Yeah. Okay. So, one other question, if we can, I think people can see here, and I think that was really the point of it, that like, there are businesses out there, right? Yeah, there are businesses out there, and for those who are, who are probably asking, and I'm sure someone is asking this, like, but I don't know, I don't know anything about HVAC. What do you tell them?
I don't either, but I got an HVAC company, right? It's all about the quarterback. If I don't have that quarterback, you throw it in the trash, you keep moving. As you've seen, there's 29,000 businesses for sale in the U.S. Right? So, you got, 28,000 more to go look through. Right?
Yeah.
Businesses, you guys got to realize, business is not like real estate. Real estate, you can go look at the house. You can go look at any of that type stuff. You know what the rehab's going to cost, and your due diligence period in real estate's, 5 days, 10 days. If you're, something like that. With a business, your due diligence period is going to be 3 months. You're going to have to fly to go see this company. You're going to have to get with an attorney. You're going to have to get with a CPA. My average real estate deal from when I sign a contract that I'm going to buy it to when I get closed is 14 days. My average business deal from when I find it, know that I want to explore it more, all the way to closing. If it's on market, it's around 6 months. If it's off market, it's a year plus.
Mm,
This isn't a quick process, folks. If you make it quick, you're going to get in trouble. I'll promise you. Every time you're going to get jammed up.
mm. Yeah. So a few things. If you I just put a link in the chat, right? If you're here and you wanted to get that the checklist that I mentioned earlier about the 5 things that Mike looks for in a business, you go to that link at the bottom there and just type in your info. And I haven't set up the backend automations for this particular one, so you wouldn't get it instantly, okay? But you'll at least, like, I'll have my team send it out tomorrow, so that you can get it. And then also keep in mind that I think Mike mentioned earlier, in case you missed it, that he's giving you guys, and this is why you come live for our sessions. He just gave those of you who are live here 30-day access to Big Deal Machine. That is $800 he just gave you guys here. I'm just going to just put it out there and just say it. Tell your friends, attend our events, okay? So if you register on that form, I will have a list created so that way, if you do the trial on Big Deal Machine, I can send Mike the list and say, here are the people that were there live, the people that you gave the 30 days of access for showing up live, so that way he can approve your 30-day trial. So please type a thanks Mike in the chat right there. No, don't put your email in the chat, guys. Don't put your email in the chat. Put your email on the link. Put your email on this link, okay? So that we know that you are in here, and it goes into our system and our portal. All right, great. All right, so we'll start to take a couple of questions, guys. This is the time to ask questions. Now, as you guys are my pleasure, Augusta. As you guys are typing in your questions, I'm seeing some really great questions popping in. Oh, hey, Ade, I didn't know you were here. Start to type your questions in the chat, okay? So Mike just mentioned a couple of things. He mentioned due diligence. He mentioned CPAs. He mentioned attorneys. He mentioned all of that. So you see that, like, this stuff is very nuanced, right? If you would like to hear about an event we have coming up where we will literally sit down for 3 days, 2.5 if you want to be actually literal, right? 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with Mike and other experts in the room, learning about how he's talking about these off-market deals he's talking about, how he's, how we're financing these deals. And we can talk very briefly about SBA while we're on here. How, what happens during due diligence. If you want to hear about the event that we have coming up, as you type your questions, type a 5 in the chat. Let me know those who want to hear about the event before we get too far. Okay, Onyeka said, yep, okay, very good. Who wants to hear about the event that we have coming up? Because we have a live event coming up, an in-person event. All right, excellent. And okay, all right. So I'm gonna tell you briefly, we still have a full question and answer session, so do not hop off. But for some of you, actually, I'm even looking in the comments on the list here. I'm seeing a few of you have already actually signed up and you're still on here, which I'm really happy about, because we don't waste time on here, right? It's always the good stuff. So September 12th through the 14th, live right here in upstate New York, in Syracuse, New York, which means you can access it from any of the major, hubs. If you're in Atlanta, or you can get to JFK, whatever, you can, Houston, basically any major airport connects to Syracuse. We're gonna be here live in Syracuse, New York, with a 3-day amazing full workshop training, in-depth training, where Mike is going to be teaching, and I'll be like your hype person as usual. Don't worry, I'll bring in my own juice, but I won't tell you right now. Anyway, but we'll be chatting about basically end to end how to get that first deal done. Okay, so this is literally how it happened. I went for Mike's event, and I said two years before that I had heard about acquisition. And I thought, this is like way over my head. This is for other people. This is for them. And then I went for an event that Mike hosted, and I was like, oh, this is it. Like,
do this.
I can do this. And within a couple of months, I had my first business under what you call LOI, letter of intent. That's the business equivalent of like being under contract for the real estate folks. And so as we were working on all that, I was like, Mike, can we do something like what you did back then? The one that I was able to come and kind of see everything in one weekend and feel that I could do it. And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. And as we were planning, it was like, wait, okay, so should we do one day? And he was like, no, we have to do it in such a way. We have to do it in such a way that when people come, they can actually get like stuff out of it. Like this is not a hype. This is not a fluffy event. This is not rah-rah. Between the two of us, I don't know who has the rah because there is no rah-rah between the two of us. This is you come, you learn, you get to like intimate, environment or whatever, you get to ask questions. I've even said to some people that, you know what, if in the time in between you have a deal you're looking at, bring it to the sessions, right? Because we will be looking at deals. We will be showing you like how the financing works, how the creative financing happens, how all these things happen, so that you walk away, and this is the outcome. You walk away knowing how to talk to brokers, how to search for deals, how to weed off deals, right? Before, I was using my real estate mind to make deals work. And that was how I got burned on the first one, right? But then I learned from Mike, he was like, no, you don't try to make deals work. You filter off deals that don't work. Like when you see it's not working, off, on to the next one. That's how he's able to get through 3,000 deals a year and then buy 3 or 7, right? So when you come for the session, it will be live, it will be in person, it will be interactive. Okay, it's not, it's not your okay. I don't like to bash anybody, right? But we are categorically passionate about having people get wins, particularly decent wins, so that way, like they can actually achieve those results that had they set out to. Now, for you to attend, it is by application only. Okay, Savvy Doc events. Thank you, Millie. Thank you. I forgot in the chat. All right. So Millie has just put the link in the chat. You got to put in your application, answer it obviously as truthfully. But what I have decided, so basically what will happen is when you put your application in, we have an initial screening process that happens. Some of you may get a notification that says, you know what, you're not approved immediately. Our team still goes back and reviews even the ones that I rejected upfront, okay? Just keep that in mind, okay? Now, when you put in your application, if you're preliminary approved, you will see a page that lets you book a call with somebody on our team, Carol particularly, okay? Get on her calendar. Carol is hotcakes, okay? Carol is an amazing, amazing human, but her time is very precious. I can tell you that for sure. So get on her calendar, find the soonest spot that you can get on her calendar and talk with her. Carol will give you details about, all the things, and then she will help you with the enrollment. She'll tell you about the pricing, about the packages we have. If you have a business partner, we've got a package for you. If you have a kid less than 18, should I drop that here? Okay, they can come for free. I mean, there. And if you do enroll, you will get. So Mike just gave you guys 1 month. I mean, that was super generous. I was like, did he just do that? Yes, he did. But I can't fight Mike live, right? But if you come for Catalyst, you're gonna get 6 months, 6 months free of Big Deal Machine. Here's a secret. Now when I'm looking at deals, I go on Big Deal Machine because it simplifies so much for me. You're gonna get 6 months free of Big Deal Machine. And you will also get access to Mike's deal document vault. Is that like it costs him about 100K in attorney fees over the years and all that, for like templates and contracts and letters of intent and all that stuff in this vault of documents. I've even seen some extra things like like growth metrics for your business when you buy it. So we're talking about how to find deals, how to fund deals, how to scale them, and then how to even possibly exit. And guys, we still have Q&A, by the way. But when you get on the call with Carol, she'll get you on with all of that. Just make sure you apply tonight. Now, here is another thing. If you apply tonight, you will have locked in your spot for an early bird gift, okay? I was like, these are my people, okay? So why not throw in a nice little early bird gift for a limited time that those who apply tonight and get to talk with Carol and get to attend the event, like if you ultimately get to attend the event, because you locked in your application, now You will also get our full short-term rental accelerator course, which is basically what I was teaching. When I was teaching short-term rentals, like this was the core book for those who were trying to buy short-term rentals. And why am I doing that? Because I'm like, every doctor needs a short-term rental anyway. You can have a short-term rental in 90 days if you like, right? But every doctor also needs, and I know you're not all doctors here, everyone also needs a business. Okay, so you can walk and chew gum at the same time. Okay, so I was like, you know what, I'll throw it in as an early bird bonus. And those of you who are already registered, yeah, you get that too. You get that too. Okay, so congratulations, you locked it in. But if you have not yet registered, then go and fill out the application on there. Fill out the application so that you can lock in all the bonuses that I just mentioned. And they, as if we add on any other bonuses, you're locked in, you'll get it as well. So don't think that, you're missing anything if you do it later. All right, so I'm going to get off that for now. Now, let's see the questions that have come in. Have any questions come in? Let's see here. Okay, let's take the first question here. The first question is, oh, okay, Ade is asking, what is the offer acceptance rate for these? Replace Spotlight. Not replace.
It really depends on the business.
Yeah.
Business isn't like real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate, they might have 10 offers on the table. Businesses aren't that way. The thing you're buying is way higher, which weeds out a lot of your competition. Normally if you're looking at a deal, if you see one or two other people looking at it, that's a big number.
Yeah.
So the acceptance rate, to answer your question, the acceptance rate is extremely high.
Yeah. It's really the due diligence portion that ends up weeding them.
The due diligence is, I'm telling you, that's where you're going to spend most of your time and most of your money trying to get one of these deals done. And if it's okay with Chigoze,
yeah,
if you guys are interested in, I've got like a due diligence template that I have that I give all my deal analysts that work for me internally to go through and ask these questions. If it's okay with Chigoze, I'll even toss that in for you guys tonight if you want to check that out. If you're wondering what kind of questions I ask.
Yeah.
If
they put in their email address on that link as attendees, all the attendees will get. Mike is just giving you guys like gems tonight. Those of you who came last week, like, can you please tell the others that they didn't get all this last week so that they know that you just gotta be present, okay? You just have to be present.
Here's
oh, there link. You go. Okay, good.
Yeah, here's a link. You guys just go click on that link, and it will. I think it'll email it to you or text it to you. I'm not real sure, but
something.
Go click on that. I promise you can get them.
You get something.
So somehow you'll be able to get it.
I'm not putting sand in your gary, my dear. I'm just saying, just keep showing up, and you don't know what may happen on a live call. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
If you're getting this on the free one, imagine when you come and you're actually in the room. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say on there. All right. Who else has a question? That was a great question. Let me see if I answered all of it. Okay, so that was one question. Okay, so somebody asked, and this was the 14.5%. I don't know who that is, but how often do owners not stay after selling a business to you?
Normally, if you'll determine all that in due diligence. But if they agree to stay, normally you're going to put them under some sort of employment contract. So they're going to stay for the term of the contract. For me, on average, they're staying a year to 2 years. Some of them more than that. I bought a company in 2019 that the old owner still works there. He didn't like the business portion of it. It was the plumbing company. Didn't like the business portion of it. He'd rather just go play with pipes. And great, no problem. But let me do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at. I took that company since when I bought it. We 5x'd it. No more overhead, no more expenses, no more employees, no more anything. Just with technology and marketing and sales. So, you know,
Nice. Okay, another question here. This one is by Dr. Augusta. She says, so far, is it better to start with businesses within the same state or out of state?
it depends on what realm it's in. For if I were you guys, I would probably start with something within an hour or two of where you live. For me, I operate in 9 different states all across the country, but I've been doing this a little longer. I've made some mistakes. I understand, a lot more of it. If you guys come to that class, I'll go through all of that stuff with you and explain to you how I operate in these different places. But, for now, it should be looking within 2 hours of your home.
Mm, okay. Now, Daniela has a few. I love it. Um, any reason someone will sell? Okay, actually, I'm glad this came up because I don't think we touched on this. Why would somebody sell their profitable business in the first place?
I mean, let's,
If it's
let's
that
think
good,
about it,
why are they
folks.
selling?
Yeah, there's 10,000 baby boomers retiring every day in the United States.
Yeah.
Every day. But let's think about it, especially the folks that are in the older generation. They've got nobody to give it to. Their kids don't want it. The grandkids, they'd rather go rent a Lamborghini and post on social media and become Instagram famous. They don't want to do any hard work. So, there's a ton of stuff out there that's available for sale because they don't have anywhere to go with it.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I've seen people for sickness. I've seen some sell for sickness. Like I had the lady that I made an offer to a lady, what was it, last week, 2 weeks ago? And she's a young person, probably looks maybe, like, yeah, just young lady. And she was selling because she was just diagnosed with some autoimmune illness and she was taking care of family. And it just was like, you know what? I just want to focus on my health and being well. And
Sickness, death,
yeah,
divorce, kids. I've seen you're looking for motivated sellers just like you are in the real estate space.
yeah.
You got to find out what that motivation is.
Another great question here actually says most people do short-term rentals for the tax benefits. What are the tax benefits of running a business, or I'll say buying a business?
Yeah, I mean, I went through some of that earlier
Some
as
of
we
it,
were
yeah.
going through Big Deal Machine. But I mean, if you need tax benefits, buy something with heavy assets.
Hmm.
All that assets are going to be tax deductible year one.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was definitely one question that I looked into because I knew that it was a question that our people have. A lot of us in medicine, and I know not everyone here is in medicine, but a lot of us in our world here are like, I pay a lot of taxes, I pay a lot of taxes, but with so when I looked into it, actually, I saw that there are even more for business owners. There's like
Oh yeah.
what is it, section 179 or something that even gives, it's like some huge number to start. And then you also have bonus depreciation in addition to that. So even before you're even talking of the bonus depreciation stuff that they're still racking around in Congress right now, hopefully coming back to 100% this year, there's still a provision
They
for business
passed it for
owners.
100% already. They
Oh, okay.
passed
I
it
thought it
last
was going back to
week.
the House or something.
I think they passed it.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, great news. So even more on the table right now for tax savings. All right. Okay. So this question, there's always that question. What are your options when things go wrong?
At the end of the day, that's why it's important to do
Due
thorough due
diligence.
diligence.
Yes.
You know, I mean, your options are less on real estate. I mean, you could sell off the assets,
Mm-hmm.
but the goal is not to jump into something and it go wrong. You're buying a track record. You're buying systems, operations, and processes. You're buying standard operating procedures, SOPs. You're buying all of this stuff and all of the framework and roadmap that these guys have built over the years. You're not just rolling in there and buying, a C-class property and trying to put a little lipstick on a pig. You got to do some due diligence. You got to do some homework. You got to make sure that everything is as they say it is. So you know,
And that's why the due diligence part is really important and actually costs money.
most important part of the whole deal. And yes, it's gonna cost money. You're gonna have to hire a good CPA. You're gonna have to hire a good attorney. You
Yeah,
might have to hire some industry experts to go through some stuff so you understand it better.
very good. Now, someone here is asking, is there an asking price to cash flow ratio that you look for?
I'm looking for some. It depends on the business, right?
Yeah,
I can tell you, like, tech companies are going to sell for 8 times net cash flow, 8 to 10 times. Heating and air companies are going to sell for anywhere from 2 times to 6 or 8 times, depending on what their net revenue is. You know, Lawn care landscape, they're going to sell for 1.5 to 2.5 times. It just depends on how big they are. The bigger the company is, the higher of a multiple. That's called a multiple. The higher of a multiple they're going to be asking for.
yeah, yeah.
You're buying cash flow.
I see it very often. Actually, I even saw this maybe 2 nights ago, that people just think it's just one blanket number across the board.
Nope.
But it's like, no, the less your business makes, the less of a multiple it'll sell for. The higher your business makes, the higher of a multiple it could sell for. And then, of course, being industry specific as well. Yep. These are great questions. Great questions. Now, who else has a question? Because if I haven't touched on your question, type it again, because I have kind of scrolled and I have, somebody said, how do you find a manager to run it for you?
Yeah, I think we've already went through that, but I'll go through it one more time. I'm either going to keep the old owner on for a set amount of time, 6 months plus. I'm going to have a number 2 guy in that company already that I can move to number 1, or I'm going to have an industry expert in my network that I can put in that place. If I don't have one of those 3, I scrap it and keep going.
Okay. Great. Those are great. Okay, I think I've taken all the questions that came in the chat. If you haven't asked your question yet and you have one, you can go ahead and type it while we're still on. I'll just use this 30 seconds or whatever, 1 minute, while I'm waiting for any additional questions, to remind you, if you have not yet put in your application to attend Catalyst, put it in right now. I forgot to mention that there is a live stream option. Okay, so for those of you, if you absolutely I cannot tell you the value of being in the physical room. I can't even state it enough. For me, it was literally sitting down next to Chelsea, seeing that she had bought a business and realizing she was flesh and blood. She wasn't just a talking head on Zoom. I can't tell you how valuable it is to be in the room, not to mention building your and having an instant network of fellow professionals who are also buying businesses. You want to be in the room. If you cannot be in the room, however, there is a live stream option. But to get that live stream option, you also have to apply. So Millie, post that link again in the chat. You're welcome, Augusta. Post that link again in the chat so that those who have not applied can apply. And that way we can start getting them on Carol's calendar and getting them enrolled so that they can start making their travel plans to come up to upstate New York. If you have not been to upstate New York in the summer, we need to fix that, okay? That's why you come to Catalyst Live. That's why you come to Catalyst Live. It's gorgeous. I love it here. I specified in the summer. Okay. We made sure we got it in before it starts before the cool down starts. All right. Any other questions? Any burning questions about Catalyst, about buying a business, all right. Okay. Andrew said, very interesting. I enjoyed this. Not sure. Okay, Andrew, your next step is to apply for Catalyst Live. Okay, your next step is to apply for Catalyst Live, because that is just the best next step. Okay. Okay, I see Dinah put in her application. All right, I'm seeing them coming in. Let me remind you, in case you tuned off before, put your application in, okay? Because that is how you would, I mean, really full on end to end, nicely detailed, hour-long session. I mean, it's great. All right. If there are no additional questions, maybe we'll hop off here. It's a little, we have about 8 minutes to go, but we'll hop off. The link is there, okay? And if you've not applied, the link is there. Don't forget, if you have not put your name or your email on the other link that I shared earlier to get the extra perks that we mentioned, definitely put that in as well. But here's the last thing, if you have any other friends, family members, colleagues that you know need to kind of have their eyes open as well to what is possible with the business. Let me ask one question, actually, since I still have 25, a few people on here. If you attended this and you saw among the businesses that Mike showed earlier, if you saw a business that could potentially replace your income if you close on that deal, type a 1 in the chat, or maybe type a 7 in the chat. I think we're at 7 now. Type a 7 in the chat. There you go. Okay, okay, all right, all right. If you saw one business that if you bought that one deal could possibly replace your entire income, type a 7 in the chat. Okay, so 3 people so far. We've potentially replaced 3 people's jobs. What if we showed you? So I don't think we even mentioned that you can buy a business for 10% down. Did we say that? I don't think that even came up during this call.
No, we didn't talk about it.
Maybe we can just talk for like 2 minutes
If
about.
you go through the SBA,
Yeah.
which is a Small Business Administration, you can get they'll give you a loan for 10% down. You can buy $1 million business with $100,000 down. But that's cool if you want to do it that way. I've done a bunch of deals, zero money out of pocket, seller financing deals, earnouts. There's a ton of creative financing options that we'll go through in the Catalyst Live event. I mean, I've got over 20 different strategies we'll be teaching how you can get these deals financed with little to no money out of pocket. That's always our goal. Does it happen that way? No. Sometimes we got to end up financing through SBA. But the goal is to, get the seller to carry the note or do some sort of earnout. Or, like I said, there's over 20 different strategies we'll be going through at that event live. And, for the price of the event, the networking is worth more than that. You got to think, there's not going to be any monkeys in the room, right? Everybody there is going to be a high earner, right? And they're all going to be there for the same goal. They're trying to buy a company, or they've already bought a company. I mean, I know there'll be folks that come from my network that have already purchased something. So, if you guys really are looking and you're serious about wanting to get a business, buy something that's going to change your life and your family's life, we'd love to have you there.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually a good thing that I remember, because I know that in some people's minds, they're thinking, so how am I going to pay for this? It's cute that I can buy a business for $600,000 cash flow, but how am I going to get the $1 million? Yeah, we got you. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mike, for hopping on tonight. And thank you to my team. Millie is here. Victoria is here. A few of you may have already heard from them because, our people, like, we connect with our people, we connect in the DMs, we connect by SMS, we make sure that our people are taken care of. So if you hear from Millie and Victoria, say hi in the chat. They're actual human beings. Okay. And they're on here live. Millie has been sending me the links and things and posting them. So thank you guys so much for being on here. And we host these routinely. So if you have any friends or family members that you think need to hear this, because for me, this was just knowing this existed was mind liberating. Okay. The fact that I realized I didn't have to buy 1,000 houses to get the cash flow that I wanted was like, whew. Like, I don't have to own 70 doors. I don't have to own, 1,000 doors. I don't have to do a syndication and carry people's money. Like, if I don't want to, I can just do one deal by myself with my husband and my family, and we're good. Okay. For me, that was liberating. And that was when I said, our people need to know this. Our people need to hear this. I don't need to wait until whatever. I can just have Michael come and have him teach. Let the expert teach you guys, and I can be I can be the host all day. Okay, okay. I can be the host all day. If an expert and someone who's like actually like in it can teach it, and you guys can get a ton of value from this. So thank you for coming on tonight. If you have any friends, family members, colleagues who need to hear this, send them the same link that you used to register. It's savvydocevents.com/BAW. And we're going to be hosting the next one probably in the next week. They can come, they can ask their questions. And you know, if they choose to come to live, great. You very well may change someone's future. You very well may save somebody from suicide. Okay, because you know all the burnout that's happening. Okay, you know what's happening in our medical space where people are feeling hopeless, and people are feeling tired, and people are feeling like they don't have an option, a way out. But then you come on and then you show them that with one deal, they could possibly change their financial, perspective. So if you've gotten any value from this, do me a favor and just go post on social media and say, you know what, I just attended this thing. It was great. And share with a friend. Okay. I'm going to put the link in the chat, savvydocevents.com/BAW. And that way they can attend the next one. They can get connected with all our stuff, and they can attend the next one, because you may very well be changing somebody's life, somebody's future, somebody's career, someone's perspective on all of this. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you for coming on. Thanks, Mike, again for being on here.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I'll see you at Catalyst Live. Take care, guys.
Thanks.